Dear children, in the continuation of the chapter, The Rise of Nationalism in Europe, we are going to discuss the second last topic, that is visualizing the nation. Now, visualizing the nation, what does it mean? Meaning is that how to imagine, how to see the nation. And children, artists in the 18th and the 19th centuries, they had personified nations. Meaning is that they represented the country as a person called allegory. Now, what is an allegory? So, allegory is basically an abstract idea. For example, your freedom, liberty. So, it is an abstract idea which is expressed through a person or a thing. Now, female figures, they became an allegory of the nation. And if you remember, children, that during the French Revolution, artists, they had used the female allegory to portray ideas like liberty, justice, republic. And then later on, during the 19th century, female allegories were invented by the artists to represent a nation. Now, in this sequence, in the France, now they had chosen the Christian Marini as an allegory for the France there, and her characteristics were also drawn from those of liberty and the republic. That is your red cap, the tricolor, the crooked, and the statue, the Marini. It was erected in the public squares. Why? Simply to remind the people of the national symbol of unity and to persuade them to identify with it. At the same time, children, as the Marini images were also marked on the coins and the stamps there. Same way, just like your France, now in the Germany also, Germania became the allegory of the Germany. And Germania, now she wears a crown of oak leaves. As why? Because the German oak stand for the heroism. So this way, now these artists, they had personified the nations. Now the next heading which we are having here, this is your nationalism and imperialism. Children, you all have studied about the nationalism. Now today we are going to discuss about what is imperialism. So firstly, you should know that what is the meaning of imperialism. So imperialism is basically a political system in which a strong country, or you can say a very powerful country, that controls a weaker country, means a strong country set up their colony in a weak country. So this is the meaning of your imperialism. And children, if you remember that you have already studied that how the European nations, they were struggling initially for the creation of a nation. But slowly, gradually, by the end of your 19th century, what we see that these European countries which were emerged as a nation, now they have developed a new concept of controlling a weaker countries. Or you can say that they wanted to establish their own imperial state or to establish their own colonies. Now we are going to study that how these big European powers, they try to manipulate the nationalist aspirations of the subject people in Europe, and they try to establish their own imperial state. Now children, we have to understand how big powerful European nations, they got this opportunity to establish their influence or the domination, or you can say their imperial state in the weaker countries there, and in which areas that became too intense in the Europe in terms of their fight for imperialism. So the most important region which was affected in the Europe was your Balkan region. Firstly, Balkan region. So where is this Balkan located? So children, as Balkan is basically a very vast territory lying between the Black Sea and the Adriatic Sea, which is a part of your Mediterranean Sea. So this entire region is known as your Balkan region. And what we see that this region had faced too much tension after the year of 1871. Now children, the Balkan region, it was during the time of your 1871 comprised of your present countries like Romania, Bulgaria, Albania, Greece, Macedonia, Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Slovenia, Serbia and your Montenegro. So these were the 11 present time countries which were coming in the region of your Balkan. And the people who were living over here, they were known as your Slavs. So this way, this is the entire region where the large number of the people who were called as the Slavs, they were residing. This region also had a various ethnic and the geographical diversities, and a large part of this region was also under the control of your Ottoman Empire for a long period of time. Meaning is here that the Ottoman Empire was ruling to the entire region of your Balkans there. But as you know children, at the time of this romanticism, as when the idea of romantic nationalism, it was spread in this region, then it has resulted in the breaking up of your Ottoman Empire, and which made the situation even more serious. And what is the romantic nationalism? So children, you all have studied here that romanticism, it was basically your cultural movement. And what was the aim of this movement? Simply to develop a particular form of a national sentiments, promoting the feeling of your collective heritage on the basis of a nation. So when this romanticism developed in the Europe, after that only all these countries which were coming in this region of your Balkans there, and which was ruled by your Ottoman Empire, they wanted to have a freedom from the Ottoman Empire there. Though children, we see that the Ottoman rulers, now they had tried their level best just to strengthen itself through the modernization and the internal reforms. But what we see that it could not get any success. And the result was that slowly and gradually, one by one, the European subject nationalities, they broke away from its control and they declared their own independence. Now the Balkan people, they simply wanted to have an independence. And why? Because these Balkan people based their claim to be independent on the basis of the nationality. They referred to the examples from history as a proof that they were also once independent and they were subjugated by the foreign powers. Therefore they thought that they have to struggle, they have to make an attempt just to win back their long lost independence, and they started struggling for achieving their own independence, which they had lost by the hands of your Ottoman Empire emperors there. Now because of this development only, various other Slavic nationalities, they also struggled to define their identity and the independence, which made this Balkan region a severe conflict. At the same time, now these Balkan countries or the regions there, the newly developed countries there, they were also having a jealous of each other, and they wanted to gain more and more territory at the expenses of the others there. So the situation was becoming quite very much serious and very much griming over there. Same time, what happened? Now it is your European powers there, like your Russia, Germany, England, Austro-Hungary. They all fought with each other to control more and more colonies, and they wanted to establish their naval and the military powers there. Now they were also key to grab more of the Balkan region for expanding their trade, and this has resulted that and this has simply made the situation quite very much worse there, and ultimately the situation of the First World War was created there. By this time also we see, children, that many countries in the world now which had been colonized by European powers during your 19th century, they had also demanding just to get the freedom from your imperial rulers. They opposed the imperial domination. They all wanted to have freedom from these imperial rulers there, and the anti-imperial movement that was begin to the most of the parts of your of the world there, and they wanted to form the independent nation states there, and they wanted to inspire by the sense of collective national unity. They forced in confrontation with the imperialism. So this way now when the Balkan region, it had become too much sensitive later on, and ultimately due to this power play only, this has brought the entire countries of the Europe at the edge of your First World War. Now this way the chapter gets over, and children, in the next session we will be discussing about few of the important questions related to this chapter, which is very oftenly asked in the examination.